What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today we have the top 5 Trials of the 9 tips for noobs. This video is meant to help newer Destiny 2 players, or perhaps even returning Destiny players who really didn't play a lot of Trials. Adhere to these tips and you should be able to more consistently get 7 wins within your Trials of the 9 run, and hopefully get that 7 wins and 0 losses flawless run to earn some special rewards. And so, let's get started. Now, the first tip, tip number 5, is gonna sound a little weird, but please just bear with me. Tip number 5, starting us off, don't go for the flawless run. Don't go for it right off the bat. Now that sounds weird, I know, but here's really what I'm saying. Right now in Destiny 2, there isn't a huge advantage to going flawless. You get some exclusive emblems, you get one more reward in terms of armor, but that's really it. This is a far cry from Destiny 1, where going flawless in Trials of Osiris would get you adept versions of the Trials weapons with extra perks that were very, very good. But seriously, I have seen so many teams completely fall apart and ruin any chance they have of going flawless because they don't adhere to this tip. So many teams, for their first ever Trials run, or they have teammates that have never done it before, they say, alright guys, this is the run, we go flawless, 7-0, here we come. And it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry to burst bubbles, but it's just not going to happen. And then what inevitably happens is the first time you start losing rounds or you lose a game, you pick up that first L, everyone gets really tilted. And then teammates will start blaming each other and getting upset at each other, and I'm sure I'm perfectly describing some of your guys' watching Trials runs, right? Everyone gets really upset and tilted when they start losing, and it's very hard to come back from that point. When your mindset is just completely negative, you're really upset you picked up that first loss, it's very hard to start winning after that point. You'll honestly find that 7-0 comes a lot easier. Don't specifically go for it. Get your team together and say, alright guys, let's just try to get 5 wins. 5 wins and we get 2 good rewards. And that is true. You're going to get like up to 300 light level gear. That's pretty much the same gear you can get if you even go flawless, just for getting 3 wins, 5 wins, and 7 wins. So simply go in with that as your goal. And if you happen to be, hold on, we're 5-0 or we're 6-0, then yeah, try maybe a little bit harder and try to get that flawless run. But if you go in with your first run and you've never done before and your absolute goal is flawless, you're going to get disappointed and you're going to get tilted. Go in for the wins, not for the flawless. Now that tip is all about mindset, which is very, very important, but now let's move into more practical tips. Tip number 4 is learn the map and the game mode. This is extremely important. It's very hard to have never played a map before or have very sparingly played a map in PvP every once in a while and then suddenly go 7 wins on the same map 7 times in a row per se. So you want to go in and expect, again, don't expect to win, don't expect to get that 7-0 right off the bat. Go in and have an exploratory match. Like your first ever match of Trials for a weekend should just be doing the craziest stuff you can do, exploring the map. Like use that first match, not to win, not to pick up that first win per se. If you pick up a win, that's great, but use it just to explore the map. Try to find all of the angles, try to find all of the flanking routes you possibly can in that first match. And then for the next 6 matches, you will have a huge advantage over teams that don't do that. Learning the map is also very much going to help you decide which weapons to use for the other 6 matches. If it's a ton of long-range sightlines, a scout rifle. If it's more medium-range sightlines, probably an auto rifle, and so on. And also, it is very important to learn the game mode. This is, I've added this on to tip 4 as well, but seriously, learn the game mode. The first weekend of Trials, it's countdown. Now, an experienced team will know exactly how long it takes to defuse the charge and if they have more time. And I'll give you guys an example of where this comes up. There's 1 player left alive and the charge is planted, and there's 1 enemy player left alive. An experienced player will know if they have enough time to go after that last enemy, kill them, and then go and defuse, whereas an unexperienced player may panic, try to defuse, and get killed because of it when they would have had time to go and kill that last enemy and then defuse safely. But this doesn't just apply to Countdown. Every weekend, Trials will be a random game type out of the different game types from the competitive playlist. So when it's survival, you're gonna have to have a team that knows when to start playing cautiously, like when your pool of lives gets low enough that you're really gonna have to change your playstyle. So again, having your first Trials match as essentially an experimental game to explore the map and try different things involving the game mode is going to be super useful for the rest of your games. Alright, it's time to move on to tip number 3, which is have a good weapon loadout. Now, I don't think necessarily your subclass matters as much. Use whatever is comfortable for you. Obviously, there's going to be certain subclasses that are superior in certain game modes and certain maps, but using what you're used to is extremely advantageous. But in terms of weapons, that may have to change depending on the different scenario. Right now, for the first weekend of Trials, Mida Multitool is absolutely everywhere, and there's a very good reason for that. The map has a ton of long-range sightlines, so a scout rifle is super advantageous, and Mida Multitool is arguably the best scout rifle in the game. So there you have it. It just logically makes the most sense to use something like the Mida. Now, a lot of people are also running the Mida mini tool in combination with the multi-tool, allowing you to get a little bit faster movement speed, and the mini tool isn't a bad submachine gun. But this is kind of where this tip comes into effect, and you can one-up people. Whenever I see someone with a Mida and a mini, I'm happy because I'm running an auto rifle, a 450 rounds per minute auto rifle as my secondary energy slot, and then I also have a Mida. So on long range, yes, I have that Mida. It's so good in this map. It's so good, period. Of course, I'm going to use it. But running an auto rifle in my energy slot, which turned out to be the Prosecutor Trials auto rifle after I got it, gave me a huge competitive advantage. I could push every other Mida user in medium range with that auto rifle, and they couldn't handle it. If you're engaging someone with a Mida at medium range, they have a long zoom optic, they have to press the trigger individually, they're likely to use that gunfight. Medium range is also out of the effective range of submachine guns, so you just have a huge advantage if you kind of know where to engage them. And you'll see that happen a lot in the background gameplay, and those little competitive advantages in terms of weaponry you need to pick up on. If everyone is running scout rifles, perhaps it is a good idea to run an auto rifle and pressure them so that they just kind of panic when suddenly you flank them and appear out of medium range. If everyone in the game is running auto rifles, perhaps it's your turn to run a scout rifle and keep an arm's length between them and you. Kill them at ranges their auto rifle just doesn't function. Or run a submachine gun even and get even closer, doing way more damage than their auto rifle is capable of. You need to kind of adapt your weapon loadout in relation to what other people are using. Don't necessarily use the exact same thing, however, you definitely can. There was a lot of people using the Mida Multitool and the Uriel's Gift, which is another 450 rate of fire auto rifle. That was like the loadout. So there's nothing wrong with copying the loadout, but keep those things in mind. Additionally, you may have to use weapons you're not used to using. You could be someone who swears by submachine guns, but on this map right now, they're terrible. They're just not good. So don't use them. And I know people are kind of hesitant to switch off what they're used to, but if you're watching a Trials guide for noobs and you're having trouble going flawless, you may have to change your playstyle and your weaponry. That's just a fact. Also, one more tip in terms of weapons, don't use rocket launchers. I saw for this whole weekend people using tons of rocket launchers, and aside from the Wardcliff coil, which is a beast, everyone spent most of their time missing or getting one kill and then dying when they're reloading their rocket launcher. It's just not worth it. Yes, you may pick up a triple kill, luckily, every once in a blue moon, but most of the time, running a shotgun or running a fusion rifle, something that has so much more consistency and allows you to go on massive streaks, is much more effective than a rocket launcher, which again, you're going to spend most of your time missing. Alright, now it's time to move on to tip number 2, which is play as a team and play smart. This is huge. You have to adapt your playstyle in Trials of the 9 to play as a team. I see way too many teams that my team just destroys not playing as a team. Now that doesn't necessarily mean like attaching everyone to each other's hips, but it does mean covering each other's backs and being able to team shot. Destiny 2 PvP is really all about the team shots. If you're able to have two players shooting at one player, that one player is going to lose 90% of the time. They just get melted. If you're ever by yourself and you turn a corner and there's 3 enemies, you're likely dead before you can even get back around that corner. You get melted so incredibly fast. So again, the teams that have that ability to watch each other's backs and to team shot, to shoot the same enemy at the same time, are going to just pick off the opponents that split apart. Seriously, do not split apart unless you have a specific plan to. You can indeed flank the team, and I've gotten a lot of kills flanking behind the team where they don't expect it and picking off 1, maybe even 2 enemies because of that. But this falls under the play smart portion of this tip. Do that if you communicate with your team and you have a great opportunity to. Don't go out with the mindset, alright, we're going to flank, because you have no idea if the flank is going to work until you see where the enemy is, where they're engaging you from. Also, another huge piece of advice that falls under play smart, and my team just cranked so many people who didn't abide by this, but it is retreat. Don't be afraid to turn your tail and run. Seriously, I saw so many people engage me from the open against a Might and Multi-Tool. They would stand there in the open and just get hit and hit and hit, and I wasn't going down, or I would have a healing rift and they would be determined to try to kill me. I got news for you. If you've missed the first 3 shots and I haven't, you're not going to kill me, I'm going to kill you. So if you're in that position, if you're losing a gunfight, jump behind a corner. Like, engage people. First of all, don't engage people from the open. Engage people near cover so you can retreat behind cover if you need to. And also, if you do get hurt and you go behind the cover, do not come back out of the cover with no shields. I saw this again so much. People would go behind cover and I was like, okay, that they did the right thing. I can't see them, I can't engage them, and they would come right back out again with basically a tiny bit more health than they had before going in, and I'm sitting there at full health and I would just destroy them at that point. So don't let this be you. Don't be afraid to just back off from a scenario, regroup, or engage at a different angle. Do not think you have to stand your ground all the time. There is certainly times when you should stand your ground, but there's also plenty of times where if you're losing a gunfight, just get out of there. The respawn timers are actually quite long in Trials of the 9, so the chances your teammates have of reviving you if you die in a bad spot is not very high. It's much more useful if you retreat from that scenario, gain your health back, regroup with your team, and engage at a different angle or a different location. Additionally, kill enemies before going for objectives or reses. I saw a lot of people, like when there's enemies right near them, like while they're being shot at, go for a res. You're not going to get that res. You're going to get killed before you can get that res. Try to engage the enemy first, hopefully kill them, or just don't go for the res. Like, you don't want to die trying to res your teammate because now there's 2 people dead. Also, planting the charge. I saw way too many people try to heroically plant a charge while being shot at. Like, that's not going to happen. You're not going to win that scenario. You're just going to die. Now, with that being said, you definitely can get a res or plant an objective while enemies are nearby. Just get your teammates to engage them, take their focus off of you while you're doing that objective or that res. But it's time to move on to tip number 1. Although these are ordered in 5 to 1, I don't think they're necessarily weighted in terms of importance, but tip number 1 is extremely important. Arguably, it is the most important, and it is communicate. Seriously, this is huge. This is stuff that even me, going flawless pretty easily multiple times this weekend, I didn't do, and I lost rounds because of it. And my team could have definitely improved in this scenario. It's something that every team, unless you're absolutely the top tier, best of the best, can always improve on. But seriously, communicate. Firstly, don't play with anyone who doesn't have a mic. Mics are like, what, $20, $15 at Walmart? There's no excuse now. Get a mic. You have to have one for Trials of the 9. But there is so much more than just having the ability to talk to each other. You have to do your callouts. Like, I personally had scenarios where someone was talking or someone was getting mad over a kill. Like, I can't believe that guy killed me. What the heck? That's lag. That's BS. Instead of telling me that the guy he died to was behind me and just about to shoot me, and I die because of that. Seriously, my team and every other team out there needs to improve on communication to do better. And beginning teams and beginning players are going to be probably the worst in that category and definitely need improvement. So make sure you're not just talking about what happened at school the other day or this crazy message you got on Facebook. Actually fulfill your callouts. Being able to say, hey, they're flanking, they're behind us, or they're coming from the side, or they're coming from the middle tunnel, is an invaluable piece of information you need to depart on your team. And sitting there yelling that you can't believe the guy killed you is not going to help anyone. There's also those players who just won't talk. They're very soft-spoken and they'll die and not tell you anything. Or they'll see enemies and just go to engage them without telling the rest of the team where they are. There's also people who constantly mute themselves. You'll die to someone and then you'll hear the unmute click, like click, oh, they're behind you guys. Well, that's a useful piece of information 10 seconds ago when I should have been told. So if you're one of those players, you need to break out of that mold. You need to become a lot more communicative. Also remember that near the minimap, it tells the location of where you are, like a specific word denoting an area of the map. So if you've used tip number 4 where you learn the map, you'll be able to say, okay, they're in stairway or they're in bridge, and your teammates will know exactly where that is. And so guys, that is it for my top 5 Trials of the 9 tips for noobs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found these tips useful. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. It really does help my channel out. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.